So in the previous video, we've already taken a look at some of the ways that the camera can be used in order to construct a visual image, as well as just looking at an outline of the idea of a visual technique. So in this video, we're going to be extending those ideas by looking at some of the further ways that images are constructed. So not necessarily through the camera, but through other means. So firstly, we're going to be looking at the technique of editing. Now, there are a number of different ways in which films can be edited to create effect. So the first example is the cutaway. Now, this is when the scene is interrupted by another piece of footage, and you really get a sense that there's a collage. So different perspectives being laid on top of each other and interrupted with each other. You also get the technique of the dissolve. Now, this is where one scene slowly fades into another, and this really gives an indication of links between scenes, as well as passing time if this is done in a more obvious way. The third technique is called the wipe. Now, the wipe is a transitional technique between scenes. So you literally get the scene being wiped away with either a new image or with some sort of graphic, and often you'll get this in the form of a clock, so as if the hand is going around, wiping like that. So that's again to show things like progression of time. So the next technique which we get to is the idea of sound. Now obviously sound's going to be really important in a movie. The sense of hearing is one of your major 5 senses, so it's really important that the filmmaker is always appealing to your sense of hearing as well, just to give that more well-rounded approach to a film. So firstly we get to the technique of the non-diegetic sound. So the diegetic sound we'll look at first. Basically what it is a naturally occurring sound. So it's a sound which hasn't been added in by either special effects or music being overlaid. It's things that are literally occurring in the scene that's being filmed. So things that the camera's picked up while the actors are actually talking. So these sounds are going to include things like doors that are opening, footsteps, dialogue, in-scene music, and by in-scene music I mean music that's actually being heard in the scene that the characters can hear rather than being put over the top. So maybe if a character's listening to a radio during a scene and they're literally playing that radio during the scene. And also thunderstorms. These are different examples of techniques. Tires screeching, and explosions. So things like this which are actually going to be happening in the action, in the moment, and that's being captured. So that's one sort of sound which we can use. The second idea though that we get to is the idea of non-diegetic sound. Now this is sound which is actually added during the editing process. So it's not in there naturally, it hasn't actually occurred in the scene. So these are going to be including soundtracks, so music and songs that are added either by recording songs or using songs that already exist. And film score, which is the incidental music that sets the mood. And also narration, which takes the place of voiceovers. So this is all the sound that's added in the aftermath. It's not there at the time it's being filmed. Special effects are also added over the top. So for example, in slapstick comedy, you might get really over-exaggerated sound effects of people bashing into each other or, a tower falling down or something. And by that, we're going to be needing over-the-top, dramatic sound techniques to really portray that element of humor to the person who's viewing the film.